Happy Hanukkah and a good Chodesh. We are in the midst of the reading of Parshas Vayigash, and in this week's reading we have one of the most dramatic moments, perhaps the most dramatic moment ever recorded in the Bible, and that is how Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. And then, after a period of 22 years of absence, the favorite child sees once again his beloved father. And he runs. He is the head of the Egyptian empire. And he runs to embrace his beloved father. And he holds him, and he can't stop crying. He's crying uncontrollably out of joy. What does Jacob say? Jacob says, Amusa hapoham, I will die just this once. I could die this once. What is Jacob saying? Why doesn't Jacob say, oh, I'm so happy to see you. I am thrilled. I am beyond words. Why doesn't he say that to him? What are these words? I will die this time. So let me give you my insight, my thoughts on this very, very special moment. And put yourselves into the position of an old father not having seen a child for such a long time, thinking the child had died, and realizing the child was alive, and seeing the child successful and happy. What does that do for you? What would be the emotions going through? First approach is, I am so overwhelmed. The joy that I feel is so intense, I could die this moment. And in fact, if I were to die this moment, I would not be sad. I would feel fulfilled. I would feel as if my life was worth living. That's what Jacob is saying. My life is fulfilled seeing you. You have no idea the pleasure that this gives me, and how I feel that all that I have struggled for has been worth it. That's the first approach, which I call engage. Second approach, enthuse, works like this. Jacob felt guilty. He had sent his beloved son Joseph on a very risky and dangerous mission. Joseph never came back from that mission. And Jacob felt guilty that he had put his son up to this, and it was his fault that Joseph had suffered. In fact, in my opinion, the reason why Joseph did not send messages to his father that he was still alive was because he was angry with his father. That his father was the cause of his suffering. And in fact, in my opinion, Joseph wanted nothing to do with the family, ever. If he would never see them again or hear from them, he would have been just fine as far as he was concerned. And God had other thoughts. And Jacob felt guilty. That was part of his mourning. I sent my beloved son to a place of danger. Where was my mind? What was I thinking? And for 22 years it tore at him. And in fact, When a person causes another person's death, the person who has caused that death must come back in another lifetime and correct this tragedy, this travesty, even if it was inadvertent. The death or destruction of an individual has to be corrected. And therefore, Jacob said, Amusa Pam, I will die only once. I won't have to come back and be reincarnated to help you, because I see that you're alive and I was not the cause of your death. So I'm grateful and thankful that I can complete my life without having to come back again, because if I caused another person's death, my life would be incomplete. If you hurt someone permanently, you have to ask for forgiveness and correct what you've done, because otherwise you have to get reborn to fix what you did to the other person. The third approach, which I call the approach of empowerment, is as follows. There are different types of righteous people: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. The Torah tells us that Jacob did not die. The Torah tells us that the rabbis tell us Abraham died, Isaac died, but Jacob did not die. There are different stories that I've received that would negate what I'm about to tell you, but what I'm going to articulate is the opinion of the famous Rabbi Bachya, also known in contemporary circles as the Bechaya. The Bachya says that Jacob was an unusual righteous man. After he died, he received a secondary body, a body that he was able to use to project himself to wherever he desired, and that only certain righteous people had that power to be able to merit to have what I call an ethereal body, a non-spiritual and non-physical in-between kind of physical form that projected itself as if it was totally physical. Jacob was able to come to this world whenever he wanted. And later on, there were other righteous men who were able to do so after their death. So the real meaning of Amusa HaPoam, I will die this once, is Jacob was telling Joseph, I see that you're alive, and not only are you alive, but you're righteous the same way as when I taught you. And therefore, I have accomplished what I need to accomplish in my life, because you were the last question mark that I had. And therefore, Amusa HaPam, I will die only once, meaning that the physical body will be interred, but I will continue living in this world, and I can come back whenever I wish, because my mission has been successful. And so, when you see your children going in the proper path, doing what they're supposed to be doing, you can say to God, mission accomplished. And hopefully, death will only be temporary, Amusa HaPam, and we will be able to merit the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our days.